discuss. I'm back for another movie review, and this time I'm reviewing The Running Man, directed by Edgar Wright and released in 2025. I'll also be comparing it to the 80s version because it's kind of hard not to compare a remake to the original. Um, I haven't actually read the book it's based on by Stephen King, so I can't really compare it to that, whether it's a faithful adaptation or not. I'll just comment on, how I enjoyed it as a movie in its own right. It stars Glen Powell and was composed by Stephen Price. And yeah, I'm a bit mixed on this one. I'd say there's some good points, things to enjoy with it. It sounded as if the action was better, but it's harder for me to comment on that. I will say that the audio description was good. It was easy to keep up with what was going on, and yeah, I'd say my one of my biggest criticisms is I found the lead, who's was played by Glenn Powell, to be very annoying. He was trying very hard to be just witty and snarky and also tough at the same time, and it all kind of fell a bit flat for me. I just found him to be just kind of he just kind of kept droning on about his family, which is fair enough. You've got to help your family, but I think it might be a bit odd for me to say as a blind person, but it's best to show, not tell in a lot of cases. Like, of course, he loves his family. He doesn't need to go around telling everybody he loves his family. But yeah, I feel like I've buried the lead a bit. If you don't know, Running Man is it's a murder game show. The premise of the movie is basically a guy is kind of in this movie he gets into it to raise money for his daughter who's suffering from the flu, and he kind of does it because he can't really raise enough money to do it through more conventional means, and he's very unhappy about doing it. He's constantly complaining about it, and yeah, it can get a bit grating. In the original movie, um, the same character is kind of framed for committing a war crime and is like forced into he's put in prison. He escapes prison and has to kind of eventually he's just forced into this game show, and I would say he's more sympathetic as a result. He didn't do it by his own choice. And to this movie's credit, other characters do kind of comment on the fact that he chose to do this. It wasn't the only option available to him. Um, and yeah, but there, the music, um, done by Stephen Price, it was decent. It kind of set the atmosphere, but there are a lot of needle drops as there are in most Edgar Wright movies. A lot of licensed songs, and I feel like it kind of juxtaposed the the original score. Had all this upbeat music, and maybe that was intentional, just to kind of contrast the game show with the reality. But if the movie was trying to be, satire like RoboCop or something like that, then it was kind of, I don't know, at times kind of beat you over the head a bit with it, and yeah, in terms of like comparing it to other remakes, I'd say it's probably better than the RoboCop remake and the Total Recall remake, but not as good as John Carpenter's The Thing or David Cronenberg's The Fly. And to be honest, I've never seen the original movie, the ones released in the 50s of those movies. So maybe if I had, I would uh, not like the newer ones as much. I say the newer ones, but obviously those were released in the 80s. But so yeah, maybe if you hadn't watched the original Running Man, you might enjoy this movie more. I wouldn't say it's a bad movie, but I think I preferred the original. It's kind of hard to compete with Schwarzenegger. Um, but yeah, and I will say I enjoy most of, well, yeah, I've kind of enjoyed all of Edgar Wright's movies, but I'd say it's probably the weakest one he's released. But it's not a bad movie. And yeah, I'd say it's worth giving a chance. If you've, well, maybe if you haven't seen the original. And yeah, thanks for listening. Bye.